Hello, welcome everybody to another edition, another chapter of our geopolitical series. And we have with us a teacher, a yoga instructor, a life coach, a corporate, a podcaster, a YouTuber, and a very good friend, Shamila Pakiyaraja. Aiboan.
Aiboan, Taraka.
Yes. And then with her, we have a writer, a journalist, a fellow podcaster, a colleague, a YouTuber, Chamara Sumanapala. Hi.
Hi, namaste.
Namaste.
Know what you waiting for? I think we're ready to rock.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much, viewers. We're going to start another chapter. And both of you have been looking at my face and thinking, why am I so happy? Why? What's the glow? What's the secret of the glow?
You had a haircut, no?
Yes, I did. And actually, it's a reason to be happy because we have few check boxes ticked, and what I'm going to bring about is I feel that sanity has prevailed in this country within the sentiments of the people. What I mean is we've had a peaceful election, we've had a successful transition of power, and we had a possible and humble takeover of the government. And most of all, we have had a new president to this country, and that president may be among the sentiments of the people has been a person who people really connect with from humble beginnings, and they feel that, okay, maybe he represents us. However, going through common people's sentiments, we have also seen an important appointment of which we are going to scrutinize and discuss on this podcast, and that is, of course, the appointment of the third female Prime Minister, Dr. Harini Amarasuriya. It is an interesting selection from the NPP. Maybe they didn't think of appointing her as the nationalist member when they had won one seat, and that was 5 years back. And now she has probably proved herself, worked her way upwards, and been appointed as a Prime Minister. I have a question for the lady in the discussion with us. Shamila, tell me, as a young Sri Lankan, as a girl, do you feel inclusive, and do you feel a sense of closure, a sense of happiness that you have been represented as a woman in this country in the Prime Minister's office?
It's largely a question that I cannot simply say yes or no. I was like, while you were asking that question, I was trying to refresh my memory on when was the last Prime Minister, as a female Prime Minister, was appointed in this country, and that was in
24 years back.
Yeah, like in 2000. That's when it's finished, right? So it took 24 years to have another female Prime Minister. Or, look, this country didn't have female leadership as much, right? It is either Srimawa, Chandrika, and now Harini. So it has been this long to appoint a female. Should I celebrate that? Probably it makes me sad that our systems are not enabled to support more female leadership in the political arena, and it took this long to happen. And so for me, that yes, it's one-off event, and I wanted to see more leadership in politics, not just in the senior government, right?
Right.
In terms of this kind of appointment is quite different to what Srimawa and Chandrika has brought. There are controversies about, their political background and where Harini comes from. She comes from a non-political, background or a heritage. So that is a significant difference that I observe. So that is
godfathers.
No godfathers, yes. And also, look, in a way that even you can come through the support of godfathers as long as you're doing the right thing. Yeah. Your platform is already cleared for you. right? If the platform is not cleared, it's an extra struggle. So, in her credit, I think she has done a very good job to rise up to the challenge. But then again, I'm a big believer on, this heroistic leadership. That is not something that doesn't exist. There's a team that makes someone looks like a hero or a villain or a joker, right? So I think what teams that she built behind her leadership is one to be looked for to see whether she was successful or not. Because we have had some leaders in this country who are exceptionally good leaders, but they're surrounded by crooks.
Yes.
Right? Their talent is immense, but they're surrounded by crooks. So it depends on how the rest of the election. For me, I'm not, the sentiment is quite interesting, and I think rightfully you highlighted that sanity has prevailed. But I'm just waiting for the lot more elections to follow to see how the parliamentary elections, the results are going to unfold to enable or disable this government. Otherwise, we will end up with a hung parliament, like in a lot of other places, battling the internal battle, and people just feel that they haven't got anywhere. So for me, just going back to the question about how I feel as a female, I'm not overly excited. I just, at this point in time, where Sri Lanka is, I really don't mind whether it's a female or a male leadership. I want something to move, something to shift, something to change. And the second point is, just because you are a female, just don't feel that you are automatically given a seat. You should carry the merit. I've been in corporate world where I hired people, I fired people. And in those, I have always been very clear. If you don't have the right skill set and the merit behind you, even if you are a woman, I'm really sorry that you're not being looked upon for the job. So that's what we need to nurture. So people like Harini will be looked upon very closely in terms of what she's going to do, whether she's going to walk the talk. Because at the moment, there's a lot of walk and talk is happening because we are leading towards a parliamentary election. So I wanted to see how the function of the government, how authentic they are, only after all the two upcoming elections are done. Then you're clearly in power, and then can you do it?
Interesting point that you brought there, because as soon as the presidential election concluded, we have moved on to the parliamentary elections, and now the focus of the government has changed, and nothing is focused on the people again, because now the focus is on the elections. But Chamara, tell me, Ranil was the only person to utilize the seat of the Prime Minister before. Otherwise, we've had all puppet Prime Ministers under the executive president, and it was really disappointing to see that happen. It's a prime position, it's a head position. Do we have an upgrade from the previous Borulugoda Singhaya's Patia to Harini? Because yes, I believe. Argue with me if there's no upgrade. We do have an upgrade. She's more educated. She's more competent, more efficient, probably, because we've had such a low bar in the prior to this, and it's so disappointing. But Chamara, what are your thoughts about the appointment of the third female Prime Minister?
Do we have to even mention the Borulugoda Singha as Patia? So
insignificant.
If you talk about Ranil Wickremesinghe, I think Ranil Wickremesinghe had a big problem with keeping power when he got it, and also winning elections, both. So in 2001, I think he managed to, due to various reasons, some of them are his doing. And he just jeopardized the chance he was given, and he didn't believe in people's politics. Now even the peace process, he just went there and signed a
treaty.
Yeah, not with any consultation with any people. Even the people didn't know. That was one of the main reasons why the opposition was so huge. So he didn't believe in people's politics. NPP, in my mind, is a different a set of the politics is different.
Is the name the reason? National People's Power?
No, they managed to somehow collect a lot of people around their political movement, the youth and the women also. And when it comes to the Prime Minister, of course, we have a female Prime Minister, but it has to be seen whether the women are empowered politically, right? So we saw the NPP addressing women specifically and the youth also. And but the problem is whether they will empower the women politically. The election is coming. How many nominations will be given to the
women?
Yeah. So the Janata Vimukti Peramuna, which is the core of the NPP, the heart of the NPP, was more or less a male-dominated party.
Definitely.
Right? So in the Politburo, I don't think there was any female. I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, that has been the case in many Marxist political parties around the world, not only in Sri Lanka. So it's you know, that has been the case, right? But now they have a chance to prove themselves. Now, whether you are a man or a woman, if there's merit, you should get the chance to serve the country or whatever. So, but nevertheless, the political leadership in Sri Lanka has been quite female political leadership has been quite insignificant. And even when we had female leaders like Sirima Bandaranaike and Chandrika was also there, but then you didn't have that you had some figures at the top, but you didn't have many women at the other layers. Yeah, just a few people. So in that sense, I mean, there were some others who came to politics. I don't mind women coming to politics because of their husbands or their fathers or whatever. I mean, anyone has the right to come to politics, whether you are a daughter of a politician or a husband of a politician, it doesn't matter. You have to come and do your work, you have to deliver.
Correct.
So that is there. So I don't mind any woman or any man coming into politics, but our political culture was such that women had problems, challenges in coming to politics. Now the NPP comes to power with a pledge to change the political system. That's why people voted NPP. Otherwise, if our problem was only an economic problem, people would have voted for Ranil. But people didn't vote for Ranil because people thought the NPP would reform this system at least up to a certain extent. So people expect that. And so there should be a more level field when it comes to contesting elections, and there should be more women's empowerment, more youth empowerment. That should happen, and it has to be seen whether the NPP is able to do it. Just the fact that the Prime Minister is a female does not prove that.
Correct.
So in my mind, appointing Harini is a very positive step. It's a good step forward, but then you have to carry on with that and generally reform the political system and also empower women and youth.
I'm sure both of you are wondering, because I mean it's absolutely the view of everyone is whoever comes, please do something good, because we're in that desperate level in this country, and then we're waiting for, I mean, man or woman, just go there, do it. But there's a reason, and I think what you guys must be wondering, why is Taraka always behind this female? Why is he talking about ladies and
Can
female?
I say that in the podcast? Why he feels that way?
No, there is a specific reason, and the reason is actually Lady Liberty is a lady. Lady Justice is a lady. Is a lady with a blindfold and a balance and a sword. And the reason that is because we expect justice to happen looking at the balance. If there is something wrong, then yes, punish them, or else acquit them. However, it is a lady, and the reason it is a lady is because a woman has an added burden and an added duty of showing empathy and compassion, and that is the reason that there's a lot of responsibility on a woman than a man. That's what I'm trying to bring here, and we probably need that touch of sensitivity and that touch of compassion in the leadership in this country. And that is the main reason that I bring that topic up. But coming back to our topic, our edition is the geopolitical edition. What is what can we do? What are the issues that a lady faces in the geopolitical aspect of the country? Shamila, would you like to talk about that? About a woman becoming a leader, a political leader, a person who can do some influence, and regarding the geopolitical aspect.
I find that before we look at the leadership of a female leadership, the political consumption of females in these countries, especially in Asia, is very limiting. So if you're engaged, which is what I observed, I've been away from the country for a very long time, and lately when I'm being here and when I'm in political conversations, it's predominantly dominated by men. So even if it's a dinner table conversation or a tea time conversation, men all get together, women just on the side, they're just peeking in but not really having any value or have respect for their thoughts and views. But that's also cultural in these countries so we have a lot of cultural, socio-economic challenges which does not enable women to have their voice in politics.
Yes.
Right? So before the leadership, so this is how I see it, before the leadership and how we are going to cross the borders and influence there, we need to encourage more people to have conversation about politics, how they want this country or a nation to be shaped out, to allow them to be coexisting with their male counterparts. So at the moment that there are women rights and children rights are kind of neglected in this part of the world predominantly. It's because the decision makers and the thinkers are males, right? There's nothing wrong in it. The diversity of thinking brings a huge difference in conversations. So a woman, like you rightfully mentioned before, the empathetic nature and the compassionate nature is very predominant in women. Right? Because we tend to carry, we just don't carry us. We don't carry a huge, generally speaking, for a balanced woman, a balanced woman means the masculinity and the femininity. I'm going to talk a little bit of spirituality here. The masculinity and the femininity of a woman is balanced. So when we come into power as females, we are not acting like high level of masculinity activated males. Right? So when I have observed that, Margaret Thatcher, even Angela Merkel have seen as men force. She is an extraordinary leader Germany had for a very extended period of time. Look, her politics, and I'm not going to go into it because I don't know much about her individual politics. But I find that she was a very strong leader. A lot of the male leadership team under her was very threatened. Right? See, can you see that threatening itself? It's a male, high activated masculinity activity. Men are not like that. A balanced male will be someone like you, okay, who will be thinking about a female representation, who will be thinking you're not threatened by a female presence or a leadership. That is what a nice makeup of a man should look like. Yes. So you're equally giving the platform and you're not threatened, you're very comfortable in your space. Likewise, women also should feel that, that man being in a table with another man and discussing about certain topics doesn't mean we are threatening that person or taking away something from them. We are all contributing to the common goal. Yes. So that, I think women has an advantage because they can take people, a team together forward because we take families together. We hugely carry the burdens of the family. So I think that natural nature of the nurturing abilities that women hold will help in a lot of conversations that we are going to have. Yeah. Because a lot of these, the abuses and, anything that's socially impacting issues are the reflection of our patriarchal society, which has been built on masculinity, toxic masculinity, not masculinity, toxic masculinity. Now that needs to change. For that need to change, we need to have more females. In order to enable that, the education system has to change. Where does in the education system that let alone talk about female leadership at home, at offices, corporate offices or public work, they don't talk about that. So the political system is a different arena altogether because you're going to be smashed. You need to have certain level of experience to speak in front of people and to express themselves. And, Madagana can, like once you start opening up, when a woman opens up, there'll be like character assassinations and all of that. So one person has to be incredibly hardcore to be able to carry their passion. right? So that requires a lot of shaping up, not just education. This is politics, this is learn. No, character shaping up needs to be there to be stand tall in front when people are like throwing things at you. Right? I have not been in politics directly, but I have been a media figure on and off in my career. Man, the amount of things that I've copped in this culture, because as a female, I have an opinion. When I have an opinion, I become to the scrutiny. The same thing a man can say, and it's fine. It's normal. So that normality has to be readjusted. So as a human, me and Chamara can have opinion.
Yeah.
Right? And it needs to be respected in the way. And so for that to be enabled for women to feel safer, to be in environments like that, we need to change, keep going back to this, old word, system change. Right? The system has to change to be able to enable for females to feel safe.
Yes. Brilliant. Actually, along with that, with those views, what I wanted to also bring out is there are two things that are coming in the way of any progress to geopolitics in this country, right? And Dr. Harini, being the Prime Minister, getting elected as a Prime Minister, definitely she must have worked her way up and she must have studied hard. She must have done a lot of activism to reach that level. However, she has a sense of, a different capability or, a gift that she has received, that is good education, and that is because she belonged to a certain part of the society. So being the minister, given the portfolio of education, sports, justice, health, women, trade and industries, she's given a very tough portfolio, a big portfolio. However, she has to combat this thing, educational disparities. She is a person from the Bishop's College, right? And can a girl from a village, from a rural village, in a remote village, also dream one day of being the Prime Minister with so much educational disparity happening in this country?
Well, now, if we just forgot about the fact that, let's forget the female factor for a bit.
Yes.
And think about the president. The president of Sri Lanka right now is a village boy,
yes,
if you say so.
Yes.
So I mean, it's possible. And there are two things here. First thing, Dr. Harini has her education, but then with the education she has to approach the problems in a common man's perspective.
At the grassroots level.
Yes.
Yes.
If you are now, for example, when Ranil wanted to to get the opinion of school children, yes, about the education system, he invited the Royal College boys. What the heck? Right? So, I mean, that should not be the case, yes, right? It should be the common man's politics. If it's the common man's politics, eventually common women will come into the politics more and more, and things will change. That will, and on the portfolios, it's a temporary thing. So we don't know what will happen after November 14th.
Correct.
So we cannot say anything about it right now.
Yeah.
It's just a few months. So let's keep it aside because it's just a few months. It's a temporary thing just before the election. After the election, we'll see what will happen. But the fact that a common man of this country, a real son of the soil, not like the Polowen Upan Janadipati earlier, a real son of the soil became the president. Now, if he could become the president, then of course things should start moving.
Yeah.
And the NPP came with a mandate to change the political system. Then of course, if they are successful in that, people expected that, and if they are successful in that, of course, people will get more chances. Then, of course, there are lots of things to solve, educational problems especially, and the educational facilities that we have at village levels and all that. There are lots of problems to be solved. I don't think they will be solved overnight. It will take some time, but it will be a good step forward. So I think this is a very good. We are at a very good juncture. In that sense.
Yes.
So let's see what happens. But I'm kind of optimistic for the time being. Let's see.
And that is the reason for my happiness.
Well,
because we
the
are
official reason.
we are at that juncture. However, the thing is that for the first time, I think percentage-wise, we have a very high participation of women in a cabinet. 1/3 of the women of the cabinet
But it's also temporary, no? So
is a woman, yeah. And also this government has declared that they might get rid of the executive presidency. So I think
it's a long shot, no?
Might has a chance of losing the position of the Prime Minister, and we don't know what will happen after 14th of November as well, if she will retain the position. However, for now, we do feel that she's come back.
No, if the MPP wins, of course, she will remain. I think she will remain as the Prime Minister. I mean, if it's changed afterwards, then it will be a huge scandal. But if the NPP wins.
Yes.
And I think personally, NPP should get a healthy majority, not at the 2/3 majority, but a healthy majority, so that they could work out, without worrying about the government falling the next day.
Yes.
So, because
things are looking positive for NPP, not necessarily for the people yet.
Yeah.
We're too early to judge on that.
So I mean, politics-wise, of course, NPP has an advantage. Whether they'll be able to capitalize on that and get a majority is a different matter.
Right.
But if they get a majority, they will have a mandate to rule the country for a few more years. Then they will, be able to slowly do the changes that they came to. They promised. And if that happens, of course, things will change.
Also, to improve the situation on the geopolitics of this country, our country has had not the said geopolitical advantage, or how they want us to assume that we are in such a position, physical location. That, however, we have had some influence on the geopolitics of this country, and that is when Sirimao Metiniya, Sirimao Bandaranaike was the Prime Minister of this country. At one stage, she even mediated a peace agreement between India and China.
She attempted to. No?
She attempted to, and she called the neighbors, and she had a big discussion here at that time, and that's how diplomacy was handled then. How did we fall into this state? How are we now so insignificant as a country, as a nation, with the so said geopolitical advantage?
Well, we we didn't achieve any significant, we don't have any significant achievement, right? For the people of this
the world
to speak about after maybe ending the war, maybe. But of course, but of course, when Sirima was there, the politics was different. But the fact that she was able to adapt to the new role she played. She didn't play any political role before coming to lead the SLFP in the 1960 elections.
Yes.
So, but the fact that she was able to adapt into her new role, and she wasn't a very expert person, not highly educated, but she was able to manage the people.
She was a good diplomat.
Yes, and a good manager.
Would you call her a stateswoman?
I guess so, yes.
She is.
Yeah, she carried herself really well when she went abroad and everything. Yeah, in that sense, she was really good. Her economic policies, of course, were
not
terrible.
Good.
Yeah. So that's a different matter. But as a statesman, and she made mistakes as a statesman. I'm not saying everything was good. She made some mistakes, but nevertheless, she was something.
Yes.
Yeah. And we lacked that. And also in politics, we do lack what do you call giant figures.
Yeah.
Influencers. Influential people who are who are able to change something. So I don't see any. For example, in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, we did have some giant political figures, but right now I don't think.
All of them were assassinated.
Yeah.
However, Shamila, do you have any examples from the past of our leadership, of the heads of our states who have done something significant geopolitically?
So I wanted to add
to what Chamber said.
Just a tiny bit to that.
Definitely.
You know, your question was about, you know, Sri Mavos and her contribution to, you know, that as a geopolitical person. And then he did say that she attempted to build a peace between India and China. So for me, listening to that, I'm like, leaving the geopolitics out, you have your own country in split. There was war going on for more than 30 to 40 years, and you can't even sort out your own backyard, and you're going to mediate a peace process between two other countries. For me, personally, it doesn't make any sense. It's like my house is on fire, and there are people falling apart, and, you know, who's right, who's wrong is not the question. The house is burning. We have to put the fire down.
But this thing was in 60s, so at that time there was no...
There was only the JVP insurgents.
No. Even this was even before that.
Before.
So,
before that.
Yeah, before that. It was a
then
different
I'll give
matter.
It to her credit.
Yeah. But the thing is, she did make some drastic errors when it comes to low, you know, economic policies. Now,
government acquisition of land. So
well,
I think that's
I think she meant well, because she gave up her own land as well. So she meant well. I don't think she meant badly, but she messed up the economic policy thing. I mean, it was a mess. That's why Jayawardena came to power with a 5/6 majority, right? So she just messed up the whole thing. But as a diplomat kind of a person, she was good. And that actually in the 70s, in 76, when the non-aligned movement summit was held in Colombo, this was the accusation from JR. No, she...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Not that I belong to his party or anything.
No, I mean, the fact that the economic situation was really bad in Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Sirimau is going around the world, you know...
Being the diplomat.
So that's a fair accusation. It's true. At that time, the war had not started, but still... there were enough and more problems.
I think the problems, the war hasn't started, but
Yeah,
spot fire started to appear since 1956, you know, post that. So,
of course.
Yeah.
Because you bring the war, I want to talk about social inequality. Yes, that has been the reason that the war had occurred. And does the incumbent Prime Minister have her duty, have a work cut out to sort that out? Yeah,
they should. I mean, the government generally.
Yes.
Not just the Prime Minister. The government, because the NPP came to power promising people that they will change the system, you know, especially the political system.
Yes.
I'm not expecting economic miracles from the NPP. If they manage the economy,
it's a bonus.
Yeah, if they improve the economy, it's a bonus.
Right.
They should just try and manage the economy. But the political system, because people voted for them, because they need a change in the political system.
Yes.
So that comes with inequality and equal opportunity, a level field for everyone, and all that, everything. So if they can achieve those goals up to a certain extent at least, then they'll I mean, we could be happy about them. So if they come to power with a simple majority, then of course they can try and do what they promised.
So I know that you asked me a question before in terms of
yes. If you remember.
I do. Without giving away too much of who was involved due to various reasons, like when Chandrika was in power, not as a prime minister, but she was the president back then, and the war was at his flight, and there was a media personality within the liberation movement of Tamil Tigers, and there was something that happened because she was not representing that, but she was a media personality from the north, and that media personality was abused and have gone through major by the forces back then. And this was happening, and one of my immediate family members was leading that case for that. And that was in parallel when they were launching. There was a war ethics that the government signed up to before they started bombing certain places. They drop a leaflet. And what has happened is they realized that the leaflets were giving indication to the movement. So they kind of stopped dropping the leaflets before they started attacking those places. So what happened was, as a result, there was, civilians were dying in a huge portion. And then another family member of mine, two of them, has to go to Chandrika at the time when she was in power. And they were talking about these both cases. And one of the biggest thing was like, you're killing this much of civilians as a result of not managing the leaflet distribution. And there are people getting caught up in it. The fight between two parties are quite different. But, the innocence. What can you do? And then her response was, nothing can be done. Right, this is how we are going to process. And then the second thing, so there was two things, right? And they started talking about this case. The woman has been absolutely tarnished, and she was murdered by the time by the forces. And so they wanted justice. And then she said, well, we can't do much. I can't go into it because it's highly political. Even the forces arena is quite political. She was a little bit concerned that if she poke her nose into that, she might be overthrown. Right? So she was a big concern. So these two people just walked away thinking, now this is not going to work out, right? And one of the family members went to the other one and said, can we just go back, because they were in the waiting area one more time to see if they can re-strategize their thinking and their approach. And they came up with a simplistic thing. If that was your daughter, what would you do? And so both of them went in. One was a renowned lawyer here, and then another family member. So they both walked in and they put that on the table and went, if this is for your daughter, what would you do? I think that moment something dropped to her, and she immediately changed the strategies, and she started the investigation for that incident, which later came to conclusions a bit later. So I think when I look at that, I'm not into her politics or how she has done politics and whether I align with her or not.
But she did something right.
Yeah. So I was thinking maybe if that was a man in that place, a toxic masculinity, if he was in there, will he even compassionately think about that? But for this conversation to happen, it dropped a bomb to her and go, oh my God, if it was my child, how would I respond? So this is someone else's child. Right? So I think the way that she approached, I'm not sure whether another toxic man would approach it that way.
Yes.
So that is maybe that, when we are talking about female leadership, that the compassion and the empathy is something that when we hold very strong, half of the wars in the world can be
sorted
or not started, right?
Yeah.
Look at Netanyahu. I mean, this is on a side, like the battle of egos are huge at the moment.
Yes.
So Macron came and said, we are not going to supply weapons to, Israel. And then Netanyahu came back and said, whoever is with that or not, we will just proceed. So can you see the battle of egos?
Yes.
So, I mean, not from Macron, but I'm saying from Netanyahu. Like he went to UN and said, whatever that you all do, we will do, carry on. So there is that level of ego tend to play up in the toxic masculinity. So I think a female can add, but if they play with their strength. Correct. Not become another man.
That's right.
I may not be saying it in the right way, but not displaying in order to fit in, because it happens in the corporate culture a lot. I see that in the leadership, like we always battle in the corporate leadership to promote women and have women leaders in the corporate world. And then often I find that when they work hard to come to that, then you see another way of thinking now melt in to fit in with the existing suits. Right? Yeah. That the woman just doesn't carry her individuality. Very rarely I have seen female leadership has led that, and it has hugely kept all the dogs under control.
Lovely point. Actually, like all these states, women that I have seen, if there was a Iron Lady of Sri Lanka, probably it would have been Sirma Bandaranaike. If there were, Indira Gandhi is the Iron Lady of India. Margaret Thatcher.
Friends. They were friends.
Yes. Yeah. Margaret Thatcher, another lady by the iron-hearted, and Angela Merkel we have mentioned in this podcast. A little lady-like leader would be Jacinda Ardern. Should Harini look at Jacinda Ardern's geopolitical approach?
I think, well, Harini should look at the problems we have. But even Angela Merkel was different in a way because she had to deal with. She didn't have a majority most of the time in Germany when she was ruling. She had to go into a grand alliance with the Social Democratic Party once or twice, I can't remember. So anyway, so she had to work around the political system in this way and that way. And also in Europe there were lots of problems those days, so she had to navigate through those things. But of course in certain points she was like a bossy person. That's also true. But especially within the local political system, she was in certain cases she was quite adamant, in certain cases she was quite flexible, in certain cases she was able to work with other parties, in certain cases she was able to champion the slogans of other parties also. For example, the Green Party had this thing about the nuclear power, and then she got that slogan to herself, and then so something like that. So she worked with the political system and she was flexible enough, especially
where they learn and they acquire
especially in local politics in Germany. So in that sense I think it all depends. Now this government, the NPP government, will have its own challenges.
Yes,
they'll be totally different from the challenges the other female leaders faced. So it will be a different ball game. So I think Harini is quite capable of handling that situation. Whether she will walk the talk is a different matter. Let's see. We are hopeful. I am personally hopeful that things would get better. Let's see. But it will be a different thing. I think, of course, whether you are a man or a woman, there are certain leaders from whom we could learn a lot.
Yes.
For example, the way people do politics in countries like India. Certain how to do politics and how not to do politics, both. So in that sense, I think there will be lots of lessons from lots of people, whether you are a man or a woman.
Yes.
So I think it's
the adaptability.
Yeah, it's not. Whether you are a man or a woman, it has some significance, but I don't think it's the only thing. But we have our own problems, we have our own challenges, and so we have to adapt to our own system. So now, for example,
it's a customized solution.
Yeah, and also the political.
We cannot follow something that has been done.
True. Even the Singaporean Prime Minister, the former Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong, said the same thing. You can't go and put the Singapore system in somewhere like, you have to change.
Yes.
So only thing is, now they came to change the political system. They have promised to do that. So let's see whether now. I think from our perspective, from maybe the youth, maybe the women's perspective, there should be a level field for them to come into politics and make a better contribution in politics. They should be given the chance to do it. So that's the only thing. So let's see.
That's good. Do you have something to conclude this podcast with, Shamila?
I think more or ever that we all covered, but I wanted to touch on Jacinda Ardern. This was a particular thing that came up in 2019 when the mosques were attacked in New Zealand.
Yes.
There was a speech that she did, quite highly spoken about in the international world, where I will just quote her words actually. So she was delivering a speech to her community, and she said, "In moments of tragedy and crisis, if we want to reflect the experience and emotions that our own communities are experiencing, then we must ask ourselves one simple question: how do I feel? Are you grieving? Are you sad? Are you angry? Or all of those things? If the answer is yes, it's likely your people will feel the same. Don't be afraid to express those emotions, the very emotions that you have." So very rarely you find leaders talking about emotions, because half of the time they build a wall around them and they don't talk and they don't discuss. So I think irrespective of whether he's a man or a woman, even Anura, in the present political condition, right, should start talking and now changing the game for men. Because it's not about women rising up. Men need to tone down in areas where he is influencing, where a boy can become that should not be a conversation in tennis. Anyone should be able to come as the president.
Exactly.
Right? Because now we are talking, and there was a reference about Angela Merkel being bossy. That bossy is a term that gets used only against women. Right? Because men can be doing the same thing, but women get looked at, oh my God, she's being bossy. Even in corporate world. No, we should not look at that. They are making decisions. Whether they are good or bad is what we should be standing for. So overall, our perception, our looking at matters have to change from this point. And this country should, in the future, should enable for anyone to rise up. Not because you belong to a certain class. Right? Even, if she studied in a middle class, Bishop's College, whatever, at one point she should be able to come down and talk to the locals, talk to the people at the grassroots level, like you said. We need to come to the ground. If you don't ground ourselves, no one will believe in us. Because you can hold a mic and sit in this, be in this, mansion and talk about politics. But when people can't connect with you, whether you're a man or a woman, then that whole thing is lost. Because that's what happened to Ranil, whether he's a man or a woman. He was in distance from people. Only people that he was associating with is elite. He should understand this country belongs to everyone. And all this time, this country's politics has been built around elite.
Yes.
That's not this country. And the mindset has been like that. The class barriers needs to be broken. Everyone should have a chance, and everyone deserves a chance. Everyone should stand tall and go, doesn't matter, I belong to this country, I'm running for this country, I'm going to sit in this position.
Are you hopeful with the new government and the new elected party to deliver on the anti-corruption ticket that they have come up with?
Anti-corruption is not the only problem in this country. I am waiting for more to happen, because I know that lately Anura has taken a huge interest in justice for 2019 bomb blast, blah. But there is backwards. There's a lot of issues that are waiting for his attention, and I kindly. That's a request by most of the people in this country. Let's address, like you are starting now. It's a great starting point. Not just look at a community that is safe zone to play in.
Yes.
Catholics is the same zone, Christianity is the same zone, because everyone won't be threatened. When you go into the Tamil community, it's another ball game for this country. So let's get into the discomfort zone and find resolution for things that has not been addressed and move forward.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you so much, both of you. Well, what I also have a request from everyone is that we are heading into an election on 14th of November. The parliament will be filled, and we are hoping for a lot of new faces. Chamara, do you think we are going to have 50% new faces?
Most of the old guard would be gone. I think so. Yeah.
So, listeners, viewers, please vote responsibly. Vote for people with righteousness in their heart, because with righteousness in the heart comes beauty in the character. With the beauty in character comes harmony in the house, and the harmony in the house, there is unity in the nation, and with unity in all the nations, there is peace in the world. Thank you.
Rightfully said.
These are not my words.
I thought so.
These are Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam's words.
No, it's beautiful. Beautiful words have been chosen. I know you said it right. It sums out everything that's, I assume that it's in our hearts as well, isn't it? Yeah.
All right. We'll conclude this then. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you.
See you.
අඩේසන් බ්ලේඩ් කල වලට යනවා මාසෙකට ලක්ෂයක් විතර.
මේ ගිය සතියේත් අපි පිඹුරෙක්ව කුරිය කරා.
You shut up. මට ඉංග්‍රීසියෙන් අරින්ටෙන්ඩ් ලෑස්ති වෙන්න බෑ.
මොන මෝඩේකෝයි මොකදයි මොනට කරගෙන තියන්නේ?
දවල්ට වැඩිපුර දඟලන පොඩි ළමයි රැට වේලාසන නිදා ගන්නවා කියලා මම අහලා තියෙනවා.